Welcome to the Hellmouth. Hope everybody's 5x5. This is Major Slayage, Ketryn Arik, Rewatch, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 1 finale. To my right, your left, my gorgeous, enchanting, hilarious, and very talented prom date, Ketryn Porter.
Thank you, prom date, Eric Lane Porter Martin. You look very handsome.
You look gorgeous.
I
love
like
this.
that you always do not just a traditional suit. Like you put your stamp on it.
Yeah, I'm never gonna show up in a dark blue suit, black suit. I'm always gonna do
something.
Yeah,
do a little something.
Yeah, it's like I'm an NBA player. Like I gotta make a statement.
I like it.
I guess we'll start there. Is this prom? Is it not prom? What the hell's going on?
The show doesn't know.
The show has no idea.
Doesn't know. They even made a joke about it, which we'll get to later. Like, I am convinced that the show found a fuck up that they had in the writer's room and we're like, let's just keep going.
It's spring fling. It's a prom, but I thought we had a prom last week.
Yeah.
That happened off screen.
And there was a coordination.
Was coordinated, but kind of was coordinated twice.
Yeah.
So
all we know is that we're dressed up for a shindig this evening.
Yes.
At school.
We're looking
with
our
school.
best.
It's not even at school. Maybe it's at the Bronze. We don't know.
Was your prom at your school?
Was my prom at my school? Prom was not. I think either the boys' school or the girls' school had it at like a country club. And then the after prom
How many
party,
hearths were featured at your country club prom?
Many a hearth. And then I think for one of the proms we went to like Discovery Zone, but like closed the whole thing down, so it was just like a bunch of like kids in prom dresses like climbing on ropes and ladders and stuff.
For the after prom?
Yeah,
we did an all night after prom as well.
But in our school, prom wasn't as big as ring dance, which was actually when the juniors got their class ring, which was presented to them by a senior, and then the junior class formally invited the senior class to their ring dance, which was always like themed.
This is as confusing as Sunnydale's dance structure. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. My senior prom was at a hotel that had just been closed down, but we didn't even get to use like the ballroom. We were just in the lobby. Well, it was still nice enough, but I remember thinking like, this whole place is closed. Why aren't we in like the actual ballroom?
Yeah, that's lame-o. Because they thought kids couldn't handle. What did they think kids were going to do?
Same shit we did in the lobby.
In the lobby, exactly.
I told this story in the KK Sam group chat because we were talking about. I had mentioned that we were doing this episode when prom came up, and I had some drama my junior year of prom. I had a platonic friend who asked me to be her date to prom. I was very much looking forward to it. It was going to be fun. And then she started dating the bass player in my band like 2 weeks before prom. And he made her so miserable about the idea of going to prom with me now that they were dating that she ended up calling it off. So I didn't even go. And then
that's lame. He should have fucking.
Yeah. And then the last day of school, she apologized and said she realized she missed out on what would have been a really fun night.
Oh, and how long did they fucking stay together?
I don't even think they were still together by the end of it.
That's so stupid.
So it was.
That's dumb.
There you go. But my senior year was great. We did the thing, and then we had an after prom as well that had a hypnotist and like had all kind of stuff. We did the karaoke where you could like get a recording. So being able to listen to myself and my friends sing "Every Rose Has Its Thorn," like in my car after the prom was done, was pretty fun.
That is pretty fun. We had to, our ring dance, I had to make a full Arc de Triomphe out of foam and paint it.
Oh, so you were like on the committee. Like you were part of the...
We also had the bottom part of the Eiffel Tower in the center of the lobby that was erected by my best friend's dad out of PVC piping.
Well, that's pretty cool.
It was pretty dope.
Let me ask you though, since we're talking about all this... I got some surprises. It's the season finale. I had to go big.
What is it?
Where was either one of those dances featured in this photograph? I'll put the photo up so you guys can see it as well.
This is prom. This is the boys' school prom.
And that's you in the middle in the light blue dress.
Me in the middle. And so, yeah, this was when I was a junior.
Okay.
Because those are all seniors there except for Lauren Demi. And I remember that's very sweet. So I picked out a dress that I wore to ring dance, which was before this.
Okay.
And I loved it. But it was between that dress and this dress.
Okay.
My parents surprised me. They went back and they bought my second choice.
Aw.
So I got to wear both of them. And that was what I wore to prom.
Your parents pulled a Joyce.
I know. They did pull a Joyce.
And
And honestly, it's got like a similar vibe to it as her dress.
3 of those girls were bridesmaids in our wedding.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Here is my senior prom picture.
Look at that handsome devil you.
And that is my senior year girlfriend.
Killer. Just kidding.
She had to leave her brother's wedding early to come to prom with me.
Stud.
But from what I remember, it was a pretty hastily arranged wedding. We already had prom on the calendar when they arranged the wedding.
Yeah, fuck that. Do it the next weekend.
Yeah. So, and if you'll notice in the background there, that is my mom's friend Bridget's purple 1976 Corvette Stingray that she let me drive to prom. That car saw a lot of action. That car, not only did I have sex in that car,
I'm taking a drink
with the door open and my leg out on the ground in the middle of a cornfield because it's too small.
You slut.
So we pulled off the road in the middle of a cornfield to have sex.
You absolute hussy.
That car was actually picked up by a tornado while Bridget and my mom were in it.
Oh.
The back end of it lifted about 6 feet off the ground while they were trying to outrun a tornado.
That's terrifying.
So that's the story of my prom picture.
I obviously took friends to all my dances. I think that went without saying.
But yeah, so if you're watching this, and there would be absolutely no way you would hear me talking if you weren't, so I don't know why I started out with a conditional. Please kick subscribe.
Ass.
Please kick ass. Please take names. Click like. Stake that subscribe button, leave us a comment. It just helps YouTube see that people are responding to what we're doing here and pushes that out to more people. We've also got a Patreon. I don't want to belabor the point. Patreon.com/Major Slayage. You can get all the information there. Do you have a spell for us?
I have a very special spell for
I can't wait.
So I felt like Buffy needed some encouragement, some liquid courage, if you will.
You brought
to defeat
booze?
the master. I brought tea.
Okay.
So I made a special tea.
How Rupert Giles of you.
I know. So I made a special tea for Buffy. It contains nettle for courage, mint for protection, chamomile for success, and cinnamon for health, and also to sort of just amp up all of the effects of those other things. And then it also has a dried orange slice in there just for a little bit of extra confidence.
Plucked from our very own backyard orange tree.
Yeah.
That makes the sweetest, most delicious oranges I've ever tasted. I don't know how we got so lucky.
I know. They're so delicious.
Thank you. This is really lovely.
Yeah. Yakida.
Yakida.
This should help Buff.
I will continue to sip that. I'm raw dogging this episode. I usually have an energy drink when we do these, and I drink it. I chug it throughout the show. I'm going in no energy drink, so
I'll wake you up.
The tea will provide some energy. Tell me your quick takes.
I thought this was great. I just feel like there's some clunkers in the middle between the first episode, part 1 of the pilot. We're calling episode 1 and 2 a 2-part pilot because, and we'll get into that more when we talk about all of the episodes. I feel like they had a really strong idea of what this show needed to be, and so the pilot was really strong. I think they really knew that they needed to get people back for season 2, and they delivered. I thought this was a really tight episode and a great season 1 finale.
Yeah, went all out. My favorite episode of the season.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, when we watched episode 7, if I was just watching this on like flip past it back when you could just flip past TV, you didn't have to stream everything on demand. And I saw even a glimpse of this, I would have been sucked in, sat on the couch, watched the rest of the thing. It was that good.
It was great.
It seems like the perfect time to just give out our season 1 report card.
Oh, we're doing that first.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and just start here. So we went through and graded every episode of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just go down the list in order and compare and contrast. Let me know when you're ready.
Yep. Give me 1 second. It's easier to look on my phone because I can see all the letter grades. Okay.
All right. Episode 1, Welcome to the Hellmouth, a.k.a. Welcome to the Kool-Aid Mouth.
I gave that an A-.
I gave it an A.
For a pilot, I thought it was
a really strong pilot.
Pilots are really tough.
Pilots are often hard. I feel like this one really delivered. It set up so many things that would come to fruition. Sometimes would take years to come to fruition, but they really did a good job of establishing the world, the tone, characters. The Harvest.
D
as well. That with double D.
Yeah.
The Witch.
B-.
I gave it a B.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm grading a little less harshly than you, but
I mean, that checks out.
Yeah, no, that was a fun episode. It was spooky. It was good to put that so early because if it had been 5 or 6, 7 episodes of just vampire shit,
right,
then you tried to change it up. This told the audience right away,
we're going to do some other stuff.
Lots of other things.
Yeah.
And I think that they,
all right,
they succeeded there.
For the rest of them, let's say our grades at the same time.
Okay. So episode 4, The Many Loves of Dr. Mantis Toboggan, aka Teacher's Pet,
D-.
B-.
Teacher's Pet?
I don't know. I remember enjoying it more than I expected to.
Fair. I think it's just a little too goofy.
It is pretty goofy. No, I think you're right. I think I'm not maybe being harsh enough. Okay. Episode 5, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date.
C+. Oh, okay.
I hated that one. I thought it was so boring.
Yeah.
And
why did I give it a C+?
We got this whole bit where Owen is Buffy. It's like you're two different people.
Yeah.
Like, none of it made any sense.
You know what? I
You don't stand by your grade?
I don't stand by my grade. Okay. What did you give it? A D?
I get a D+.
I'm going D+ too.
Okay. Episode 6, Hyenas Are Back, aka The Pack.
D+. Weird.
We swapped them.
Yeah, we switched.
I think that
D+ I stand by. The plus is for Xander's performance.
Yes.
The rest of the
Jim,
God, he dropped a full letter grade. It just, I don't know. I think the episodes that work in season 1 are the vampire lore ones.
The big story,
yes.
The season long arc.
I don't think that they've figured out the monster of the week yet.
I thought though, as a metaphor for peer pressure,
sure.
I thought there was good stuff in there. I mean, it was definitely goofy. They eat the principal, but they don't get in. There's no blood in anything.
Yeah.
Like you almost kind of go like the same thing I would say to someone's like, if you can't afford to leave a tip, you can't afford to go out to eat.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to cover these kids in blood, then you can't have them eat a man.
Yeah.
So that's, that's my words of wisdom there. Okay. Episode 7, Angel. A+.
I was comparing it to episodes I liked better.
Okay. I think I'm containing this to season 1. I'm comparing season 1 against itself.
No, I'm comparing it against itself. That was the highest grade other than the pilot and the finale.
Okay.
To be fair. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, that was the first one all season that felt like felt like Buffy to me.
Yeah.
Number 8, I, Robot You, Jane.
C+.
B.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah.
I thought it was definitely again goofy. And I know that you talked about how Buffy seemed too depowered in the final fight.
Yeah.
But all of the really prescient internet stuff.
Yeah.
Kid committing suicide because of the internet.
Yeah.
All of that just felt like it really resonated. They weren't afraid to go there.
Yeah.
So I gave them points for that.
I think that's fair. That's where my plus comes in.
Number 9, The Puppet Show.
B.
A lot of my complaints this season up to that point were that there weren't enough twists and turns.
And that was a twisty,
and that was a good twist. Although the witch had a good twist as well.
Yeah.
But then there was stuff where there was not twists.
Yeah.
And this one was a good pretzel for me. So number 10, Nightmares.
D-. Yeah.
That was the worst one for me.
Yeah.
Nothing about it worked.
Yeah.
Nothing about it made sense. Number 11, Out of Mind, Out of Sight.
A. Yeah.
I thought it was the best use of the horrors of high school personified by classic movie monsters.
Mm-hmm. I was annoyed that we never understood what dance coronation was happening.
That plagues
I know
that
that's so
episode
stupid,
and this
but
one.
I know that's
I couldn't track it.
It just
what was
Just create another mechanism.
Is any of this prom?
Yeah.
And if it is, when did it happen? Which episode is it? Do they really have 2 dances back-to-back weeks? I don't know. And then Prophecy Girl. Let's go ahead and grade it now.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of our quick takes.
A+.
Yeah. I loved it. It was my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah. I really, really liked it.
All right. So we've done the spell.
I think that my minus was just because, like, I don't know that the Master is, like, my favorite big bad.
Yeah, no, he was
and the Anointed one.
The Anointed,
also,
yeah. So,
I was just like, eh.
Yeah, if we're gonna go with the bad quickly, the Anointed was such a letdown, did nothing. Because I thought when they first talked about him in episode 5, he was supposed to be a warrior.
Right.
And then the subversion was, it's just a little kid. It's not who we expect. It's not that big hulking dude. But then they do nothing with him all season. And then when he finally does a thing, we could have left the Anointed out of the entire show and it wouldn't have hurt a thing.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
So let's just get into it.
We'll get there. All right. So let me pull up me notes. We open with Xander professing his love to someone in the bronze. Poorly. He's definitely practicing. Yeah. And we see that he's now practicing on Willow, who we know has feelings for Xander. Mm-hmm. And Xander is trying to get Willow to help him out of the friend zone, which really pissed me off. And I will say this
out of the friend zone with Buffy.
Out of the friend zone with Buffy. I have no doubt that I will say this a lot more, but it's really fascinating to me how much less patience I have for Xander. It's wild because I previously used to listen to a podcast, Buffering the Vampire Slayer, which is great. Jenny Owen Youngs and Kristen Russo. And they were, in my opinion, too hard on Xander. So I found myself kind of justifying his behavior a lot as I was listening to
on this show a lot. You've said you'll always defend him because he's a teenager and he's got this pressure. The patriarchy hurts men too. Mm-hmm. So you would always
his upbringing, his whatever. But like
he lost you.
This whole thing was just really self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And really like unwarranted main character energy.
And he's tone deaf because
she's given no.
Buffy, but also he should be able to pick up that Willow has feelings for him as well.
Exactly. Not only can he not pick up that Willow doesn't have feelings for him, he also can't pick up that Buffy could not be less interested in him. Like he is so squarely in the friend zone with her, anyone could see it.
And especially, like, let's leave the Xander of it all out. He definitely knows she's sprung on Angel.
Right.
She's pining.
Yes.
She's got... her heart is spoken for.
So yeah,
there's not an angle you can approach this from where it makes sense for him to want to ask her out.
Exactly. And so spoiler alert, when he gets rejected in a second, which we'll talk about, like I just don't have a ton of room for empathy.
Well, especially because he goes aggro. He snaps at her. We're jumping ahead.
Yeah. So, but he asks, I thought Buffy was going to be here tonight. What is she doing? And I'm like, what the fuck do you think she's doing, bro? She's a fucking slayer. And here we see her slaying.
Well, the first shot is her like getting thrown across a graveyard in slow motion. Glorious slow motion.
Yeah.
And you've made the comment in our watch along. And I'm going to apologize to anybody that watched the watch along. I was so sucked into this episode. I feel like I didn't say 10 words the whole time. I just
said 11.
Every once in a while I'd be like, wow, this is so good. And then I would just like get sucked in. So apologies all around for that. But you mentioned they really hit it out of the park with that slow-mo shot where Buffy tunes into her sense of sound to fight the invisible girl. And you're like, oh, her hair looks great in slow motion. We're doing more of that.
Yeah.
And they did more of that. This was a John Woo film.
Yeah, so she gets thrown to the ground. She hops up in slow-mo. She pulls a stake out from behind her back. We see the vamp that she's fighting, like his face falls. She does this slow-mo smirky smile. She's done 12 episodes of this show for sure. But you can pretty much assume that like an actor isn't really going to be able to fully 100% like step into a character right away. You don't know where the writers are going. You know, you've only been playing it for a few episodes.
There's probably a part of you that wonders, is this even going to get picked up?
Is this even going to get picked up again?
Am I going to get invested? You know?
Right. But that moment where she in slow-mo smirks at that vampire, I felt like I was watching Sarah Michelle Gellar go, I found her.
Mm-hmm.
There she is. There's Buffy.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to watch.
Yeah. And she's enjoying this aspect of this. And she even like brags that after she stakes him, she's like, that's 3 in one night.
Mhm.
Giles would be so proud.
Yeah.
And so she's where she resisted this role so wholeheartedly, she's finding a way to embrace it and enjoy being good at it.
Yeah.
Cordy and her paramour are making out in a car, a steamy window car.
Yeah.
In the graveyard.
And it's not Mitch. She said goodbye to Mitch from last episode.
I have to admit, I couldn't tell if this was Mitch or not. Mitch left whatever the opposite of an impression is.
Yeah, and Cordy definitely has a type. She's like, I want a featureless white dude that's taller than me so I can wear heels. That's literally all she's going for at this point.
So at this point, I wasn't sure if this was the guy who got his face beat in with a baseball bat or not.
But we do see that Cordy is smitten. And that was my first clue.
That is a different guy.
That it's a different guy, because I'm like, Mitch was not bringing anything.
He was a turd Ferguson. This guy, frankly, a little turd Ferguson as well.
Yeah.
But
cuter also.
I couldn't tell you.
He was a little bit cuter.
If you put 5 guys in a lineup, I couldn't tell you if either one of them was one of the 5 guys.
Sure.
I have no idea what this guy might as well not even have. He's like Anne from Arrested Development.
Yes.
Under his yearbook picture, it just says not pictured.
Yeah. All right. So now we go to Giles, and Giles is normally very buttoned up British, keep calm and carry on persona, have a spot of tea, governor, is looking a little a little haggard. He hasn't slept, he hasn't shaved, he hasn't changed, and he looks frazzled.
He's poring over his volumes.
Yeah.
We know from the last episode that Angel delivered an important book that it was thought lost to antiquity called the Codex.
Yep.
The Codex. I keep saying Codex.
That is a tampon.
A very different thing. Angel brought him some tampons and he's reading them and he does not like what he sees.
Yeah. And then the Earth apparently also doesn't like what he sees, because we get a major earthquake that everyone in Sunnydale is understandably freaked out by, except for the master. He and his little boy child are into it. They're like, look at this fun earthquake.
Well, they caused it, yes?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he's calling the earthquake.
Oh.
He's like, what do you think? 5.1? Like they're having fun in games.
Great.
And that's how he knows his power is nearly ready to burst out of his little bubble.
I thought he was just like, oh my God, is this for me? That is so sweet. You knew that I was just about to ascend, so you sent me a little earthquake gift. That's so fun. Cute. All right. Buffy then comes in seeing Giles looking haggard. He's also like really distracted, which bums Buffy out, because she's like, Dad, I killed 3 vamps. Mm-hmm. I did such a good job.
Acknowledgement and approval, and he's got no time. He's clearly, his brain is somewhere else. The library is fucked.
Yeah.
Structural damage, cracks in the walls. Snyder is going to be pissed.
He's going to absolutely freak out. Absolutely lose his mind.
Yeah.
So after class, our trio, I can't call them a trio because spoiler alert.
There is a trio.
There is a trio later. Yeah. The Scoobies are, going to their next class, and Xander not so subtly tells Willow to beat it.
Yeah.
And then,
Willow, how about you fuck off for a minute?
Yeah, he tells Willow to fuck off, and then he tells some other kid on a bench to fuck off as well, and proclaims his love for her. And so this whole thing sucked. But there was this other very specific moment, this very specific sentence that he said that really pissed me off. He says something along the lines of, it's time. Like as if he's been patient and she owes him.
Right.
And I was just like, fuck completely and utterly off. And Buffy is really, she's really honest, but she's also like, kind. I think there was a world where she could have been angry at Xander, and instead, he says, you either feel it or you don't, and she says, I don't. And then Xander's a dick about it.
Right. He gets aggro. It's that thing you see all the women posting on social media where they either go on a date or they just talk with a guy from one of the apps, and then she ultimately isn't feeling it.
Yeah.
And tries to let him down easy. And he's always like, you're not even that hot anyway. That's basically the energy Xander is bringing.
Right. And what he actually says, I'm just getting some more tea. Do you want a little bit more yourself?
No, I think I'm good for now, but thank you.
So yeah, he basically calls her out on having feelings for Angel, who's undead, to which I also just realized right now, oh, so you are acknowledging that she has feelings for someone else.
Right.
Like, yeah, she has feelings for not you, dude.
Well, they've parted ways. They haven't seen one another. So I think he's also impatient. Like, okay, how long are you going to mourn that relationship before you're ready for
None
me?
of your beeswax.
Yeah, it's all bad. And then she wants to kind of like sort it out because she does say like, you're one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's not, okay? And he storms off. And I'm like, you don't get to stir up the pot
and then storm off. I said I would always acknowledge it. He does, within the context of this conversation, apologize for being a dick. Like after he says the Angel thing, she says that was harsh, and he does apologize and then storms off.
What does he say? He goes, no, he says that line later. There's another line where he kind of reveals his entire MO, but we'll get to it when it comes up.
So Giles is now on the phone in his office and doesn't know that Jenny Calendar is listening to a phone call that he's having. But she does clock that he's wearing the same thing as he was wearing yesterday. And I was like, girl, why you know what clothes he was wearing yesterday?
It's so funny. He says, from a clue in the conversation, he said, we'll come after sundown. So we think he's probably calling Angel. Mm-hmm. But he says, yes, this is Giles. Rupert Giles. If he doesn't know Giles, there's not a planet where he knows, oh, Rupert, clears it up.
Giles, right.
I thought this was Fred Giles.
Yeah. Jenny Calendar is basically like, yo, dude, you can clue me in on this shit. Remember, I'm a techno-pagan, so like all my peeps are talking about some crazy shit happening. Cats giving birth to snakes.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Boiling lakes while people are in it, and a baby being born with inward eyeballs.
I had a question about that. What's your opinion? Just what do you think? Are they just attached backwards, or are we seeing like the nerve and the veins and shit that are on the back of the eye attached, sticking out of the eye hole?
That's what I'm picturing.
Oh, that's so much worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
None of
or
it's great.
Even an unattached retina. So it's just like dangling out of his skull.
Oh,
that's what I was picturing.
I don't feel so good.
Sorry, you asked.
I did.
I didn't do it. The Hellmouth did it.
That's on me.
So they're talking about the Anointed One, and they're like, maybe that fucking stupid vampire proselytizer wasn't the Anointed One. Who is it? They put it together based on blah, blah, blah.
Well, Jenny says she's been talking to she gets like a newsletter from a monk from Cortona, Italy.
Right.
Which we know from iRobot is where Moloch was entombed. That's a fun word.
Entombed.
No, entombed.
Oh, entombed. I like that.
So we are aware of Cortona, Italy. Mm-hmm. And she's talking to a monk. Although I had someone leave a comment, said that the monk in iRobot, the one that calls him and traps him in the book, in the credits, they named that character Thelonious. And there's a famous jazz musician named Thelonious Monk.
I love shit like that. So they're putting all this together. And Giles needs Jenny to do something. I can't remember what it was because I was too distracted by Ripper coming out and saying, just do it. And I was like, excuse me.
He says, call your monk, track down this monk and find out everything he knows. And Jenny's like, Sheila goes, you haven't told me Jack. What's with giving out orders? And he's like,
just do it. Was into it.
And she does.
Yep. Back with Cordy, who's talking to her idiot, who's not as much of an idiot as Mitch, but still an idiot. And she comes up to Willow and says, I really like your outfit. And Willow, in her honesty era, says, no, you don't. And she says, no, I really don't. And I just love her delivery of everything she's ever said. I would listen to Charisma Carpenter read the phone book.
I love that they've reached a point in the relationship where they can drop the pretext and be like, yeah, I don't like you, but we have to deal with each other.
I don't like you either.
That's them. That's not us.
Yeah.
But, they're not always clear from watching this.
Zillow is now talking about how Buffy wasn't interested. He says, I crashed and burned, but good news is I get to go with my best friend. And Willow, again, in her honesty era, says, no thanks. I'm not going to be someone's second choice.
Right.
Because I'm a first choice snack. Thank you very much. Ask Malik.
Malcolm.
Malcolm. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Willow's
Stepping
coming into
her
herself
own.
too.
Yeah.
So weird shit's happening though, because Buffy goes into the fucking bathroom and turns on the sink and it's running blood. Buffy now goes into the library. Giles is in his office talking to Angel, but Giles and Angel don't realize she's there. So she hears the whole conversation where Giles says, the Codex is always right. Tomorrow night, Buffy will face the Master and she will die. And this was the first time that I feel like we got to see SMG be like, I'm pulling out the big guns acting wise. Are you ready for my scene?
Yeah.
Because I'm ready for my close-up.
It's a powerhouse performance.
Yeah.
And it's so compelling. And again, I was just struck by how fucking good this was. I said the other thing I said in the watch along was, if you just showed me this episode kind of, or at least this bit of it, showed me any 10 minutes from this episode and asked me which season it was from, I would never have said first season.
Yeah.
This felt
that's
like
true.
a really developed, put together show.
Yeah. So Buffy quits. She's like, I know how to make the prophecy not come true. No longer a Slayer. Deuces. Which honestly, did we try that?
Well, she did kind of try that in the pilot.
But she didn't stick to it.
No, she didn't stick to it because there's a vampire in a school locker.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to go like, fuck, all right.
So she rips off her butter necklace.
Which I thought was a strange move, because just because she quits doesn't mean vamps won't still try to kill her. They don't maybe get the memo that she quit. She could still be attacked. The cross might serve a purpose.
Girl, she's mad. She's mad.
What
She's
did you
like,
compare it to? You said,
I don't know.
I said this is like a cop turning in their badge and gun
when
they quit the
force. And I had the significantly less dramatic one. I was like, turning in their name tag. Like, I don't know why I was picturing her working at Target. Makes a lot more sense that she would have been turning in her gun and badge. So Buffy is gonna die. Willow is at home. She calls Xander. Xander's pouting and he doesn't want to talk to anybody. And for the Gen Zers out there, the thing that Xander picked up in his room was called a phone. A phone. You would talk into it, much like you talk on cell phones.
Yes.
And the other person could hear you.
It's got phone in there both, so they're related.
Did you ever use a phone?
A phone?
Yeah.
You're probably talking like Nadia from what we do. Yeah. The part that struck me as weird is he picks it up, hangs it down, picks it up, hangs it down. That's not what you would say.
Maybe you haven't used a phone.
He picks it up, he hangs it up, and then he takes it off the hook and sets it in bed next to him. And it's like, yeah, kids watching this now would have no idea what that move was.
Doing.
He was basically putting his phone on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
But it's a much more convoluted thing. Speaking of not getting...
Though, he would get in big trouble for that, because if one phone was off the hook in the house, nobody could call the house.
And it also, if you left it off for a certain amount of time...
It would go...
You know who else did not get a date to the dance? Ethel and Tansy, who are joining us as often is the case.
Yeah.
They are both pouting in bed like Xander.
Yeah, they are. You girls, you're too young. Maybe somebody will ask you next year. All right. So Buffy is also going through it, but has significantly more reason to be doing so than Xander does. Because, she's going to die, which sucks.
Yeah.
And she's looking through an album, and darling Joyce comes in. And Buffy's like, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's just go. For no particular reason, let's get out of here. And Joyce is like, don't you have a prom or a spring fling? Joyce doesn't even know what the fuck it is.
Cheerleaders or whatever they're calling it.
Whatever they're calling it. What are they calling it?
Nobody knows what this dance is.
What are they calling it? Come on, guys.
And was there a dance last week?
Who can say?
No idea.
So we also see that Joyce did something very similar to what my parents did, where she saw Buffy eyeing a beautiful dress and said, we can't afford it, except they could. And she bought it, and it was hanging on the back of the closet. And it was a very 90s dress.
Yeah.
It was the 90st of 90s dresses.
She looked gorgeous. It was giving bridal.
Yeah.
I also thought it was giving like virgin sacrifice a little bit.
It totally was. We also get a little backstory about Joyce, that she was a saucy vixen at her prom. She went stag, but that's where she met Buffy's dad, who sucks. We have to allow all women to make terrible choices in their early years before they find the right guy.
She met Hank, but
he had a date.
And the
already.
Joyce gets flustered saying, I'm not going to tell you that story, but
cut to her in the cornfield. Hank's got one leg out the car, and then the car gets picked up by a tornado.
Exactly.
That's how it happened,
That's
right?
exactly what that's the Joyce Hank origin story. That was the night Buffy was conceived, actually.
Yeah. So now Cordy and Willow are having a moment because Willow was going to help. I just realized why that happened, because Willow was going to help set up the sound system.
But boyfriend was supposed to
Stood
drop
her
her
up.
off at the bronze, and then they were going to go in the morning and set everything up.
Yep.
But the gear never made the trip.
That's right. So Cordy and Willow go to school to see where stupid Kevin is. And Cordelia is sprung on this guy. And I'm just like, Cordy, the ways that you can do better. My God.
And this is the first scene where we get the name. So it wasn't until now that I realized this is not Mitch.
Right. And so they see that they're watching cartoons
they're in
school?
the school AV room. There's film equipment, and they see tops of heads peeking up over a couch watching cartoons.
But then they open the door. Kevin's body falls out, and they realize it's a bunch of deads. They're all dead. Vampired.
And the vampires were not just there to kill people. They smeared a ketchup handprint right on the television.
They had dogs, hot dogs, right afterwards. Yeah. But it was a gruesome scene. It was gruesome because it wasn't like, one little vampire bite or a fucking praying mantis.
It wasn't sterile the way so many of the deaths are in this. The room was ransacked. The bodies were slumped over in uncomfortable positions.
Yeah. It
was a room full of bodies.
Yeah. Joyce then sees on the news, so I can only presume that the cops were called. And Joyce is like, Buffy, it's Willow. She's trying on her dress at that moment that it's happening. So Buffy goes over to Willow's house.
In her dress.
No and
time
her
to change.
Black jacket.
Which is a nod, as you pointed out, to the movie.
To the movie, for sure.
Which I'm sure what happened was Tox had this image in his head. He does not stand by the film version of this story and probably was like, I'm going to use
I get to reclaim that image. Yeah. So Willow is giving the performance of her life, which we are going to come to expect from Allison Hannigan. She's incredible. Crying is hard. Like, crying as an actor is hard to make it look convincing or sound convincing.
Because what she does is she edges right up to the cry and her facial muscles are trembling.
Yes.
She's not giving full sobs. She's not giving dramatic cry. She's giving traumatized, trying not to cry. I think
trying not to cry. That's what it is. Yeah. So, and she says it wasn't our world anymore. It belonged to them. They made it theirs and they had fun. Buffy then tells her, she's like, all right, you know what? I can't quit, I guess, anymore. Because I think Willow made it personal for her.
The idea that the vampires would in fact kill Willow if she doesn't stop the Kool-Aid Mouth.
And so Buff is like, stay in tonight. And Willow says, I like your dress. Which is so sweet.
So,
because Buffy just wants to be a real girl.
And so Jenny and Giles, or Giles as they're known.
Correct. Giles with a J.
Going over the things, they're comparing notes, and then Giles is like, well, Jenny's like, you going to tell Buffy? And he's like, I don't plan to tell her because Buffy's not going. I'm going to go. I'm going to go fight the Kool-Aid Mouth.
Who said that?
Unclear. I think Ripper wants to be the one that said it, but we know that in a fight, Giles is useless. Giles has been knocked unconscious in every episode so far. And not even by monsters. Sometimes it's just like a zookeeper.
Right.
Like he lost a fight with a zookeeper.
Yeah.
So
I didn't ask who was going to go fight the master. I said who said it.
Oh, who was fired up in that moment? That was Ripper.
It was Ripper.
But I don't think Ripper, we have not seen Ripper show up to a fight yet.
No, but he keeps trying to pop his head out.
It's like when Banner is trying to call on the Hulk in Avengers Infinity War, and Hulk will show up for a second and say no, and goes back inside, and there's that tension.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Ripper's trying to come out and it's not working.
Buff comes in and she's like, remember that time I quit? I need my job back. I'm taking my job back.
She pulls a George Costanza where she just pretends she never quit.
Right, exactly. That was my Seinfeld theme song. How did it sound?
I'm glad you tagged it afterwards.
Okay, great. So
we won't get a copyright strike. I'll tell you that.
Oh, good. That's why I did it that way.
It was a feel alike.
Yeah. So Buffy comes in and she's like, that's super sweet of you, Dad Giles, but I'm the Slayer. And he says, well, nah-uh. And she says, yaha, punch-a-rooney, concussion number billion.
Yeah. We've made the comment before that it's sort of like that character in Not Another Teen Movie where we know this guy's a limited number of concussions before he just dies.
Right.
I kind of can't believe she wasted one on this, but
Truly.
she needed him to stand down.
Yeah. So he's knocked out. She asked Jenny to tell Giles that she said something super cool as she left, which she didn't, but she did take something super cool, and it was a crossbow.
Yes.
She looks awesome.
Oh, and also her badge, she put her butter necklace back on.
She did put her butter necklace back on. I was like, damn it. I thought we were out of the woods. So she goes outside and she immediately encounters the creepy crap bag. And I felt like the kid had a speech. He had a whole thing. Help me. Like, I feel like he had a whole scene and was like bummed that she was like, I know who you are, kid. Take me to the master. And he's like, motherfucker, I rehearsed this.
It reminded me of the scene from one of the Indiana Jones films where a guy pulls out his swords and he's like doing a full thing. And then Indy just pulls out his gun and shoots him.
That's that. What two clips have the same vibe?
Yeah.
It's that.
I'm furious at this point. Is this literally the whole reason this fucking kid's been sitting around in these episodes
to hold her hand
for the last 7 episodes? We don't see him every time, but he's just in his little red hoodie, taking up space.
Yep.
Cashing checks.
Yep. Still cashing checks.
Doing nothing.
Yeah.
Again, we could have left this kid out of the entire thing and it wouldn't have hurt anything.
We got to look up who this kid is and where he is now.
I don't even blame the kid.
Oh,
I just
of course
think it's
not.
the dumbest.
It's a dumb premise.
It's a dumb device.
And you know how I feel about kids on set. Like, I'm like, you got to really convince me that this particular character needs to be a live child and not CGI.
A little context, because what you said sounded harsh, like you are annoyed by kids.
Oh.
On set.
Fuck them kids.
Well,
No,
I am
she
annoyed
works
by kids.
with child actors and knows how much this business can mess with them. And she does mentoring and it works with social workers to provide structure, care, relationships.
And they're just not
kids.
made a priority on set at all. And they're utterly neglected and oftentimes abused. And my job has made me, one, really glad that my parents couldn't be convinced to be stage parents.
Glad you weren't born a Kardashian.
Yeah, like I would not have been okay. I would have desperately wanted to be like I did want to be a child actor, but I wouldn't have done well. I would have fully Lindsay Lohan, like no question.
She's on the upswing though.
She is, but she's she's a classic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know. So like for things like this, I really do take issue with sort of just like having this kid on set every so often
for no lines
for
and
no
deliver nothing to the plot.
Yeah, so I kind of do take issue with it. You know, if you're gonna have a kid on set, I want you to earn it. I want it to be worth it that this kid is missing school and missing opportunities to socialize, and you know, hopefully he has parents that are putting some of his money away that he's like. It's just, you know, you got to earn it. This kid did not. Edit it out. So she's being led into the sewer. The Scoobies are in the library. Xander, I wrote Xander's being a big asshole. I think I was just still mad at him, but he's just riled up. He just doesn't want Buffy to die. Like he's
not taking it well, but it's forgivable. It's completely understandable.
Though he is the one who's like, I gotta do something. And
provides maybe the most useful play out of any of them.
Yeah. So gotta give Xander credit that like his perceived impotence worked in his favor in this way.
His
'cause
and
he
Buffy's favor.
had something to prove, you know, even if that's not why he was setting out to do it, it's how it.
But I believe his motives were pure in that he wanted to try to save Buffy, and it felt like no one was gonna do anything.
They were just kind of like, well, Codex says. So Buffy's in the sewers on her way to the candlelit lair,
completely dragging this gorgeous dress through the muck and the grime. Like
Truly.
it's touches the floor. There's no way it's
Eric
not
was
wrecked.
apoplectic about it. Xander has gone to Angels and is just like, yo, if you love her, let's go fucking help her. And it was a great little buddy comedy moment.
Yeah, their bickering is great, and he pulls a cross on Angel and he says something dumb. He's like, as far as I'm concerned, you're a vampire. And it's like, oh, thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Back in the library, I can't remember how this happened, but basically Giles with a J figures out that the motherfucking Hellmouth is under their feet, their current feet. It's under the library.
Well, what happens is they go, the last time the Master tried to break out was the harvest.
Right.
And they gathered at the bronze.
Right.
So Willow's like, well, that was the bronze. Let's go to the bronze. So Giles is going to stay in the books, and he sends Willow and Jenny to get to the bronze.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then when they get outside, they realize, oh no, they're not going to the bronze. They're a whole horde of vampires are shambling our way. They're coming here.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn.
But before that, Buffy makes it to the lair, and the kid is like, all right, that's my last shot of the day. I'm out of here.
He just turns around
leaves.
and walks out, and never to be seen again. What a fucking waste for all the buildup.
Because they could have done something. I would have totally been on board for them doing something fucking nuts with that kid. Make him a fucking vampire child. Do something, anything. Right. But anyway,
because here's the thing: Buffy would have gone down there anyway.
Right? Yeah, exactly. She tries to shoot the Master with her crossbow, and this motherfucker catches it right before it hits his heart. And I was like, uh-oh, he's been practicing his arrow catching down here.
How does one practice that though? Because if you're bad at it to start,
nerfs.
You die. Nerfs.
Yeah.
Nerf crossbow.
He had his minions go up and get some Nerf guns.
Okay.
Duh. Idiot. How do you practice crossbows? Nerfs. Xangel is having fun banter. Xander is convinced that Angel is looking at his neck and tells him that he told him to eat before they came. It was great. Yeah. It's lovely.
I would have watched a whole spinoff of just those two.
In the lair, though, this is where we realize this has been a trap for Buffy all along. Because the Master says, you're the lamb, not the hunter. I'm the hunter. And Buffy is definitely like, oh shit. Okay. Well, fuck.
And is this where he drops it on her that like, if you hadn't come down here, I could never have left?
In a second.
Okay.
Yeah. Giles with a J and Willow realize that he's going to attack the bronze here. Mm-hmm. This is where they realize it, but doesn't matter. And back in the lair, the Master grabs her now by the throat, and she doesn't appear to be able to do anything.
Well, he does a little freeze frame move, and he does a little Kylo Ren freezing ray,
and she kind of just walks over to him, and we're like, this is not good.
Yeah,
this is no good.
You can't kick a robot. You definitely can't kick a guy that can freeze you with his hands.
Right. So this is where Jenny and Willow are they go outside at this point, and they're surrounded by vamps. The vamps are not going to the bronze. They're coming.
And
here.
It's bad. Yeah. And they're surrounded on all sides. I mean, they're shambling. They're not running, but they're going to get there eventually.
Yeah. Back down in the so nobody is doing well because it doesn't happen yet. I know what you're talking about. So nobody's doing well. Buffy is down in the lair, glamored and paralyzed. And this is where the Master says to her, you idiot, you're the one that sets me free. If you hadn't come down here, I couldn't have left. Okay, so that kind of shit gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things in my life where I get stuck on that loop about something like that, where it's like, if I had just never gone or whatever it is, I get loopy about it.
You're playing a whole sliding doors thing where you're like, oh, if I had not gotten on that train.
Yeah. And shit like this like fucks me up. It sends me into my own like little loop of it. And it makes me feel crazy and like I have a fever. It's real weird. I got a lot of shit going on up here. So he fucking bites her, man.
Right in the neck and dumps her body face first into a pond of sewer water.
And it was upsetting.
Yeah.
Like they did a thing where they dropped her face down into water so that it's like, no, guys, she's dead. But we're so used to seeing, especially, I didn't even think of this until later. We're so used to seeing ingenues in shows. Even when they're dead, they're beautifully dead. Right? Especially when it's the fucking lead of the show. Buffy looked like a corpse. She looked like a really upsetting corpse that a bunch of teenage boys stumbled upon. Like she's face down, she's her
sprawled,
the sprawled,
her back's
like it was
bent in an unnatural way.
It was really an upsetting visual that I was impressed with for the show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Oh, I thought you. So sorry, he buffered for a second. Are we back? Great. So Xangel now runs down. They found Buffy. Angel feels her pulse and she's dead. She's not with us anymore. Lord knows how long she was face down in water.
As was foretold in the Codex.
Yeah. And apparently, I guess, Slayers, I'm thinking about the science of this now, because one of the reasons that people die from vampire bites is they're drained of too much of their blood to exist anymore. So here's what I can only presume. Slayers have too much blood.
that's a leap. Talk me through that.
That like he sucked enough to like make her pass out, but Slayers have more blood than the average human, so it only made her pass out. It didn't make her die.
No, she died.
But then when she fell down face first in the water, she drowned.
Well, Darla bit Joyce and she didn't die. It's possible to bite someone.
Why the fuck would the master not want to drain her of all of her, eat his fill?
But he didn't. He's
gonna have a snack?
He bites her and drops her instantly. He doesn't even like, there's no slurping.
Okay. I still think Slayers have more blood.
That's your headcanon.
Yeah.
They're like little mosquitoes. They're just full to bursting with blood.
Don't you dare insult Slayers by comparing them to mosquitoes, you monster.
Stepped on a landmine.
You can sleep outside with the mosquitoes tonight.
Wow.
So we then learn Angel can't give CPR. He doesn't have any breath.
Which I said when we were watching. I don't know if I said it during the show or during the watch along. When they were breathing the gas from Flute Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, he's going to have to give CPR. And then you said, but he doesn't breathe. He can't do CPR. Also doesn't breathe. How does he smell gas?
And that's where we had the whole olfactory.
So I think if you, again, a vampire just moving through the air will still go in their nose and they can sense it.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
It's aerodynamics.
So Xander gives her CPR with his breath and she comes back to life. So back with Jillo, Cordy comes speeds up in her car just before all of the vamps come and eat
She's
them.
Like, get in, losers. We're going shopping.
So great. Oh my God. That is what she was like. Oh my God. She would have made such a better Regina George than Renee Rapp.
Can she? I don't think she can sing. Haven't we? If we saw her in the talent show,
I still would have preferred
it. My name is Cordelia.
Don't do it. Oh yeah, I like that.
And I am a massive deal.
So Cordy drives off with camp on hood, vamp on hood.
Yes.
There we go.
There's not a camper.
And she drives into the library, not up to. Into the library, like an absolute badass.
She's like, and we know from the Witch episode that Cordy's a terrible driver. She failed driver's ed 3 times.
Yeah. We don't count the last time that she failed because she was in fact bewitched.
Yeah, so that might have been a fourth.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's got her license now.
Yeah.
Probably
we don't know.
ostensibly
we didn't check.
That's true. We don't know.
We never asked to see an ID.
Yeah, and we
Sunnydale
know the
has no
bronze
police.
doesn't. Yeah, and the bronze doesn't card. So yeah. Back in, so she's driven into the library, and we see that a tentacle is coming up from the earthquaked Hellmouth, which reminded Arik of a giant penis from The Boys.
Yeah, love sausage.
Ugh. Was that his superhero name?
Yeah. He's got a prehensile elongated penis.
So gross. I
don't know how I'm going to cut that into this show.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put a big censor
but
the
it's
entire
like
thing.
Yeah. Master is up on the roof being like, oh my God, it's so great up here. I love this fresh air instead of this dumb sewer air that I've been not breathing.
Right.
Because he's a vampire. So the boys are picking Buffy up after the CPR, and they're like, you okay, dude? And she's like, couldn't be more okay.
Better than
Turns
okay.
out when you kill a Slayer and bring her back to life, she's uber slayered.
Which
is dope.
She's Mario when he gets the star.
Yes. She is. And I'm like, have there seriously been thousands of Slayers and they didn't at some point figure out, like, hey, if we kill the Slayer and bring her back to life, not only do we get another Slayer, which we learn later, but the original one is uber slayer.
Now, do we know that that's what it was, or was it the fact that she got bit by the master that juiced her powers a little bit, or was it just being so down closer to the Hellmouth? Like, I don't know that we know that it's the death and coming back, or was she just like more determined because she died and came back? I feel like there's a lot of theories.
Yeah, that's
about
true.
Where this extra Mario boost came from.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm not sure. So, Giles with a J and Wardy are all in the library, and they're trying to put, as we say on KK Sam, doors on doors on doors, trying to block everything. The vamps are all trying to punch through the windows.
They grab
and all
the
kind of
printer
shit
and move it over there.
Yeah,
that's what we call product placement.
Hey, but don't worry, somebody's coming to save the day, and she's marching with two boys on her arm to the theme song. This was awesome.
Yeah,
this was very awesome,
and it's the first time I can ever remember a show using the theme song as score.
Yeah,
in the show,
it was pretty. It
was. Now I will say this: I would love to see them running. Shit's going down.
Yeah.
But it was so fucking cool, I forgave it.
Yeah, I agree. She was wearing heels, so it is hard for her to run.
They were little kitten heels.
They were kitten heels. They were chunky. She's the Slayer. You're right. Rescinded.
Yeah. I would have taken them off, go barefoot, and haul ass.
Sustained. Then she tells Angel to put his game face on, and he's like, already did. Bumpy face. Was cool.
So they're to keep the other vamps from getting to her while she's going up on the roof.
Yeah.
To confront the Kool-Aid Mouth.
And Hellmouth is opening more in the library. Buffy goes up to the roof, and
vamps are breaking down the barrier, trying to get in.
All kinds of shit. There's a 3-headed monster that comes out now, and Ripper did come to play. He grabs an axe and he fucking starts hacking heads. So, no concussion there, just badassery.
The first fight he survived without getting knocked out cold.
So up on the roof, Buff is pulled towards him with his Jedi mind trick again.
Get over here.
But this time, whatever gave her Uber Slayer strength made it so that she's kind of able to not be hypnotized by him, and she fucking calls this motherfucker out on having Kool-Aid Mouth.
Yes.
But it's a brand, so they had to call it Fruit Punch Mouth.
But then she says punch mouth, and then she punches him in the mouth.
Yeah.
So that was
so great.
And she drops a pretty classic Buffy line here.
Yes.
He goes, "You're dead."
Yeah.
And she says,
what does she say? I forget.
I maybe did, but I'm still pretty.
I'm still pretty. That's right. Yes. I was thinking of the thing she says later, which is, but it was written. And she says, I flunked the written. Now, okay. Normally, I fucking hate shit like that. I hate that. I hate having to say it as an actor. I hate when it's written because like it is so difficult to sell that shit. It is so hard to sell that shit. And it is so easy to have lines like that just clunk to the ground like pots and pans. But I think SMG, the professional that she is, made some decision at some point where she was like, when it comes to puns and all of these little bantery quips that Buffy has, it is because she's a nerd. I think she's a pun nerd. Like, I think she's like the one who challenges dads to a pun off, honestly. And I think she also goes, if I have to fucking do this, I'm going to entertain myself while I do it.
You imagine there's a barbecue and some dad's got all his best material worked out and he hears Buffy's coming and he just wads it up and throws it away.
Yeah, and she says, hold my steak. I can out pun with the best of them. That's what I think's happening.
I have an opinion about that line. We have a segment where we talk about our favorite and least favorite lines of the show. This one may be making an appearance.
Yeah. So everyone's fighting in their respective territories, and the master has Buffy by the neck. She looks and sees that something has made it so that there's like a giant
the little wormy love sausages of flipping over furniture in the library.
So there's like a big old steak, like a big steak. Buffy clocks it and realizes she doesn't have to do shit other than fucking flip this Kool-Aid Mouth over her head, through the glass ceiling, into the library, directly onto this giant steak, and we have the most satisfying dusting of the season,
because he unravels like a sweater. It doesn't happen in a burst. It's like
cool.
It's like, yeah,
it's really cool. So they did it. All quiet on the Hellmouth now. She comes down and they all decide to go to the bronze because, god damn it, she got pretty. We saved the world, and I say we party.
She's going in this beautiful dress that's been drugged through the sewer.
It looked
so bad.
Yeah. And she was literally dropped into, even if she had kept the hems clean, she was literally dropped into sewage water.
Right. We had a plumbing thing where
oh god,
our plumbing backed up, and so when you flush the toilet, it would come up through the bathtub and the shower. I actually had to miss a friends and family screening of Final Destination. Our friend Guy co-wrote that movie. And I couldn't go because I had to stay behind with the animals and having the plumber in and out of the house.
So much poop water.
That is the water Buffy
that she
fell
into. She must have smelled so bad.
Ugh.
Oh man!
Xander had to give her mouth to mouth right after pulling her face out of the sewer water. We might be imagining this water being worse than it was.
Yeah, maybe the master doesn't. If they have olfactory cells, we've already said that they can smell. Yeah. Presumably.
I mean, there's no moving air down there, so he'd have to like jog around to get a whiff of anything. but
like maybe that is just water.
It could just be water.
You know what? It's water. Let's say that. And the final shot of the season is the master's bones on a giant steak.
He's now been transformed into a model skeleton from a science classroom.
From a science lab. Yeah, they're actually going to use it next season in science class.
How excited is Snyder? Like, yeah, we got to pay $5 million to repair the school, but we just saved $40 on a skeleton for the science lab.
He's ecstatic. Yeah, it's great. All right. Meeting of the yearbook committee.
Last meeting of the season for the yearbook committee. What we were going to do, I'll give you a little tease. We were going to count up who had won the most, best and worst dressed, etc. from these. But we didn't know what the tallies were going to be for this episode. So we're going to do the year one ultimate winners for the yearbook when we do the season 2 premiere next week, which, we're not taking any time off.
Yeah.
Next Monday, we're back with season 2. But let's get it started. Do you have a category you would like to do first or last? Or you don't care? Okay. Who was worst dressed for you?
Unfortunately, Cordy and I were in agreement about Willow's outfit.
Yes.
At that time, it wasn't good.
Let me join that party.
Great, all three of us.
Best dressed. I think I know what you're going to say, and I think I probably agree with you.
Yeah, I tried to pick something other than Buffy's final look, but like it's so good.
Honorable mention for Jenny again.
Yeah.
She got a couple different things. She got a little cardigan sweater that looks pretty cute. And I said, I bet you Jenny could pull off that horrible thing Willow was wearing. But you're right. It would have been a different fit.
Yeah, it would have been a different fit.
So I had Buffy in the dress.
How could you?
With the jacket.
With the jacket, of course. Yeah.
Best line.
Best line was actually one that Buffy delivered in her incredible monologue that particularly broke my heart, where she asks Giles, will you train her or will they send someone else? And that moment of like, she's dispensable, but this guy is definitely a father figure to her. And to think that he would just move on to the next
is heartbreaking. It makes the threat of dying that much worse.
Yeah.
That whole scene was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
From everybody. David.
Yeah.
Anthony, Tony, as his friends call him.
Yeah.
Sarah Michelle, everyone killed it in that one. It was so well written.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Best line?
Yeah.
Think of something cool. Tell him I said it. That's what Buffy says to Jenny after she cold cocks Giles.
Yeah.
What do you think Jenny told him?
I think she just told him what happened. I think she just told him exactly.
So
yeah,
this girl's about to go off and die to try and save the world, and you're not going to honor her last wish.
Yeah,
Jenny's a bitch. What was your worst line?
I guess a guy's got to be undead to make time with you.
No, that's right. I did not like the I flunked the written.
Yeah,
but I think part of it was I thought she was going to say something else, and so I was a victim of my own expectations.
What did you think she was going to say?
So when they're talking about the prophecy, when she and Kool-Aid Mouth are talking about the prophecy, they're down under in the sewer water. He says prophecies are tricky creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So when he says to her, like, you're supposed to be dead, it is written, I wanted her to say, yeah, well, prophecies are tricky creatures. So I was gearing up for that. And then she goes, I flunked the written. I was just like,
yeah,
fuck this.
You're right. That was better. Let's pretend that's what she said.
Okay. So that was
what's next?
Extra. Me throwing my fucking thing
was.
Here. Did you have a best move?
Tied.
Okay.
Tie was Cordy driving through the wall.
Okay.
And Buffy's smirk right before she stakes the vampire in the beginning.
Cool. We didn't have any crossover.
Okay.
Mine was a vampire's reaching through the window and Cordelia bites him and goes, how do you like it?
I missed that.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh my God. I love that.
It's great.
That's great.
And then who's your most likely?
Let's see. What did I have? Most likely to walk Buffy down the aisle because Hank sucks. Giles.
Oh, that was heartfelt. I feel like we should have ended with yours. Mine's so dumb.
Let's hear it.
Most likely to get boned, Kool-Aid Mouth. Because he turns into a skeleton at the end. So he gets boned. Come back.
God, I'm only coming back for you guys, not him. All right, we did it. Season 1.
In the books. Any closing thoughts about what it's been like to do an entire season of this? We've done 12 of these.
I was just delighted that watching this season less passively, I enjoyed it much more than I recalled enjoying it, just because there's some fucking D's and D- episodes in there. So I think, but even the ones that were like D's, there was more to enjoy in them than I remembered.
Yeah, there's always charm in there. I think you said something like this, something similar to that in a previous episode. And I remember I wanted to remark on it. The moment passed was like, by watching the show more critically, somehow you were less critical.
Yeah, truly.
Which I found that beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have remembered, I kind of had classified the entire first season as just a skunk fest.
Mm-hmm.
There was some really great episodes. And like I said, even the clunkiest ones had stuff about them that I did like. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. This is a jumping off point into probably what's going to feel more like the show. And again, I don't remember what happens to Jenny. I don't know when Oz shows up.
Really?
Like, I don't know how he shows up, how much Oz we get, how far into the next season. Is he even in the next season? When do we meet Spike? I have no fucking idea. Like,
this is so fun,
I'm
you guys.
so excited to, like I said, 5, 6, 7, I know very well.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what I'm in for.
Oh my God. This is going to be fun.
So it's going to be amazing. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at Major Slayage Pod on all the things. Check out our other show, Kim and Ket Stay Alive Maybe, co-starring her and Kim Burns, produced by me, every Wednesday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
And Kim is going to be, I've already signed her up for this. Kim is going to be on at least the 6th episode of every season.
Let's see what Kim has to say about that. But that would be the plan, because she was here for the pack and it was hilarious and a lot of fun. So KK Sam at KK Sam Podcast on social media for that show every Wednesday. We're here every Monday on YouTube. Please click like, subscribe, say something in the comments. We don't care what.
I care.
She wants it to be nice.
Yeah.
Nice would be great, but I'll take, what's that line from Braveheart? Alive if possible, dead just as good. So just comment anything at all that occurs to you. Share this with a friend. We will
share
be
it
back.
with 5 friends. 5 by 5. So that's 25 friends. Do you have 20? Oh, do you not have 25 friends?
She's the boss. So do what she says. It'll make my life easier. You do what she says. But yeah, can't thank you enough. We're out of here. We'll see you next week for season 2.
Woo!
And until then,
Dust you later.